Hey guys, welcome back to Stumblin Forward. I'm one of your hosts, Monica Ortega.
And I'm Kristen Herman.
And today we have a really awesome guest. So, Jason is a highly accomplished speaker, coach, and consultant in the fields of digital marketing and mindset. Following his success, he switched gears and became an online marketing consultant and has since become a highly sought after coach and advisor. Headhunted by the Rethink Academy in 2018, Jason is head coach and is steering the company towards becoming the #1 coaching program in the UK. Thanks for being on the show, Jason. Welcome.
Hey, Monica. Hey, Kristen. It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to being on the show.
Yeah, awesome. So I
Awesome.
guess tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're originally from Houston, so how did all of this get you to England?
Yeah, where'd you go from
Yes,
there?
exactly. So I'm originally from Texas. I don't think I have my Texas accent anymore, but I can put it on if I force it. But my when I do it, my kids always laugh at me. They're like, "Whoa, that's weird." But yeah, I'm originally from Texas, moved to the Republic of Ireland on the west coast near Galway. Lived there for about 6 years, and then moved to the north of England up near Leeds about 11, 12 years ago, something like that. So yeah, I've been kind of all over the place, and but love it. I love this side of the world, and I love traveling. But yeah, lots of stuff we can get into today. But it's a little bit about me.
Awesome.
Yeah,
How'd
so
you get thrown into speaking and coaching
yeah.
and everything like that?
Well, I've been speaking since I was 15. So I kind of fell upon the love of speaking. I'm still quite introverted, but I was really, really shy growing up. So the thought of getting up in front of anybody just scared the life out of me. But I just found that I really enjoyed it, and it's actually the #1 thing I enjoy doing the most is actually public speaking now. It's I love it. I don't get nervous. It's just I get a massive buzz out of it. So. But coaching wise, like I've always been big into impact, helping people, adding value to people's lives. And so when I moved to Ireland, I was looking to start up a business. I've always been very entrepreneurial. Had my first business when I was 20 back in Houston, all that. But when I moved countries, I just got a job, whole new country, new culture, new everything. So I just wanted to kind of find my feet. And after I'd been there for about a year and a half, that entrepreneurial bug was I just couldn't hold it back anymore. So I was like, I got to do something. So I was really intrigued around the whole online marketing world. This was probably about 15 years ago now, and the online industry was really, really, really new. It's still new in the grand scheme of things, but back then it was like people were going, what, you can make money online, how do you do that? It was just such a new concept. So I was really intrigued by that, and I trained up to be a life coach. So I thought, well, what if I put those two things together? So I started marketing myself online. Didn't really have a clue what I was doing online in terms of marketing and stuff, but I loved the process of being able to impact people across the globe from my house in Ireland. I was like, man, this is crazy. And within 18 months, I'd built up an email list of 9,000 people. I was coaching people in 13 different countries and all that sort of stuff. And during that time, I'd got to know some kind of big name online marketers and stuff. And they said, well, you should start teaching people how to do this stuff. And I was like, do what? Like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I didn't know I knew anything. I was just trying to build up my business. But I took their advice and transitioned into that. And off and on over the last 11, kind of 12 years now, I've been helping people with online marketing in one form or another. So, yeah, so now I'm the head coach, as you said, at the Rethink Academy. We work with people all over the globe, helping them with their online marketing businesses, from startups to well-established businesses. And then I also run my own business where I help companies do the same, but it's very much kind of focused around LinkedIn. I can help people with other strategies, but LinkedIn is it's a phenomenal platform if you use it right. A lot of people are just spamming people really bad right now using automation tools when they don't really know how to position themselves, and a lot of mistakes that people are making. But if you do it right, it's a great platform. So yeah, that's how I got into coaching. I love it. I do it all the time.
That's
So
awesome. So what did you speak about when you were 15? It was just like started, was it a class or was it more just like you wanted
well,
to?
yeah, I was at a youth group actually that I was involved with back in Houston, and just started speaking at school. I We would go on like trips, like mission trips and stuff like that, and all that, and I just really enjoyed it, and I got a real big kick out of it. I don't know how to explain it. It's like being an introvert. Then when I get up on stage, I can almost become somebody different, even though I'm still me. I
Mm.
know that kind of sounds like I'm being fake, but I'm not.
No.
But I can just kind of be all the things that I wish I could be on stage, you know.
Mhm.
Because my brother, he's younger than me, but he was always the really outgoing extrovert, life the party, funny, you know, and he always made fun of me. I was quite the nerd growing up and stuff. But when I got on stage, I just enjoy it. I love being able to speak and I don't know. I just really like it. I like being able to see people as I'm speaking and the impact it's making. And I can, when people have those epiphany moments, it shows up on their face. And to me, there's just no greater joy than that, you know. So I don't know. It's a blast. I love it.
I
That's
love
awesome.
that. Yeah, when I used to sing in cover bands, I had horrible stage fright, and my mom told me to pretend like I was a rock star. So it was like this alter ego. I would like do a faux hawk and leather pants, and I was like, I would never be this person in real life.
No.
Like I don't know if it's anybody, but like I've always gotten like the nervous feeling in the beginning, and I still do, even though like I'm on stage like, all the time. But it's like yeah, it's just fun once you get up there. And then
Then you love
afterwards,
it.
like that really fun, like the buzz that you were feeling, like I get that
Yeah.
every
More
time.
nervous if I haven't like I don't know, like I realize people are looking at me and about halfway through I'm like, "Oh my God." So
No, it just keeps building and building. I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
that's
Anyways.
a skill to get though, and you got it at a young age, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So coaching, then you're like, so you started the business on your own when you were 20, and then that just like blew up. What was that like concept specifically?
Yeah, so when I was 20, I was actually not working for a guy. It's a friend of mine. He owned a window covering business,
Mm.
and so it's a little bit different here in the UK. But for all of my fellow Americans, they build big estates, and you know who your or these housing developments, and you know who your target market is because they're just living in a fishbowl. Like there's nothing on their windows, or they've got those paper kind of things you get from
Oh my
Home
gosh, I hate
Depot,
this.
yeah, those accordion paper thingies. And so it's really easy. He knew who your target market was. And so he just, hey, if you want to make some extra money, do you want to kind of go out and sell these blinds and stuff? So he had the opportunity to go do something he'd been kind of planning on doing for a long time, and the opportunity arose sooner than he was expecting it to be. And he said, do you want to just take over? Like there was no employees or anything. He's like, do you just want to run it? Because I'm not going to do it anymore. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So I was 20, and I was out, just driving around into these developments and knocking on people's doors. And it doesn't sound as bad as it actually was, because you're even people who already ordered blinds, they were really friendly. It wasn't like, oh my God, a door-to-door salesman. It wasn't
Mhm.
anything like that, because everyone needs window coverings. No one wants to just be living in a fishbowl. So they need what you have. But it was a really cool learning experience for me, because being quite introverted, and even like I feel more comfortable in front of a group of 1,000 people public speaking than I do one to one.
Mm.
So when you
Yeah.
get that from not just a one to one perspective in a public space, but now you're in someone's living room, like their home. And I'm 20 years old, and you know, no disrespect to anyone who's 20, but even when I was 20, I was thinking, I'm kind of young, and they're just letting me in their home, and you had to go around and measure all the windows because you had to give them a quote, and people would literally they let you in and just let you go. They're in their living room or cooking or whatever, and I'm going through all their rooms, measuring all their windows. I was thinking I could be still in anything.
Oh
Like
my
they
God.
just, they have no idea who I am. So I always found it just really interesting how actually people are quite open to stuff. And when you
Mhm.
sit down, when I sat down with them in the living room, once I worked up their quote and showed them the different types of blinds that they could get and all that stuff, it taught me a lot on how to create rapport, for me to feel comfortable, because that was the most thing, for me to feel comfortable so that I wasn't being awkward,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
they were feeling comfortable with me being in their house. And so I learned so much over that period of time while I had that business. And it was great fun. And it definitely ruined me forever, being like an employee, even though I was an employee at different times after that. But the freedom of running my own business and being able to kind of work on my own terms, I was like, man, there's nothing better than this. So
Yeah,
So
it
you
really
had
is.
success really early, like between the speaking stuff and then this business. What would you say were like some mistakes that you learned along the way? Because I feel like most of us are still dealing with it in our
Yeah.
30s.
well, yeah, I mean, I deal with, we all go through different phases and growing periods, and as soon as you've accomplished one thing, you forget about it because you're wanting to go to the next level. So, even when you talk to millionaires, they're looking at how do you get to that 5 million or 10 million. There's always another level. So um, some of the biggest mistakes, to answer your question though, or learning experiences, definitely for me starting off, because I was quite introverted, I didn't want to um, deal with any issues, like client issues that might come up. And so I would kind of ignore them and just hope they went away, which doesn't work. But I was like, well, if I just don't deal with it, maybe they don't know or whatever. So one of the big things I learned is just being able to deal with things head on, and actually not in a not controversial way, but just being able to take it head on and finding a solution with your clients and be able to work towards a solution.
Mhm.
Because most of the time, as long as you're upfront with people and honest, and they know that you're looking to provide a solution, most of the time people are okay with that. It's when you ignore it, don't respond to them, all that sort of stuff, where it creates an escalation of problems, which
Mhm.
sounds really obvious, but again, as a 20-year-old, first time business, all that sort of stuff, there's a lot of things that are kind of obvious now, but at the time it's like, gosh, how do I deal with this stuff?
Well,
So
I
Yeah.
feel like people still make those mistakes. They're like, oh, we'll just fake it till we make it. We'll pretend everything's fine. But like,
Yeah.
who knows?
And also like ignoring those like little problems, like it's like reminds me of just procrastination, like you just
Yeah.
don't want to deal with it. Like, I'll get to it later. I'll get to it later. Like
yeah,
it's still gonna be there. Do you
yeah.
feel like what was the big success that you feel like you've had? Like is like first thing that comes into mind with your career?
Well, gosh. Okay. So my big success, I always tell people my biggest success was that first business, if we're talking
Mm.
kind of in terms of business, because it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that before. I'd always wanted to go into business before. And I've made a lot more money since then. I had, kind of bigger successes if you were to look at it from that perspective. But for me, that was the biggest success for me. I that first year I did like 150 or $160,000 in turnover, which for a 20-year-old kid,
Yeah.
and
Wow,
no disrespect, I don't mean that
that's
in the meaning
crazy.
way by 20-year-old kid,
No.
but I remember doing my taxes that first year and thinking, holy crap, I did 150 or 60,000, whatever it was in turnover. Like, my God, and obviously that's not all profit, but I was just like, whoa. So for me, that was kind of an amazing thing. Like the first year, 20 years old, trying to figure out how to go into people's homes and all that kind of stuff. It was just a massive just learning experience. It was loads of fun. I learned so much during I had the business for 2 years. I can explain why I ended up moving on, but yeah, it was just amazing. Loved it. It was a great success for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Why did you end up moving on?
So two things. um I was kind of winding up the business anyway. So in Houston, for most Americans don't know this, very big oil place, and so there's a lot of oil workers or oil refinery workers, and they work shift work. So they'll work like 4 days on, 4 days off, or 7 days on, 7 days off. At least they did. I don't know what they do now, but when I was there, they did. And so most people don't just sit around for 4 days or 7 days in a row. We kind of start getting antsy, like, okay, let's do something. And so, oil refiner workers, they make decent money. It's not bad money, but just as a side hobby, the barrier to entry was really low to get into that business, and so there was not a lot of upfront costs or anything. So they would just do it on the side. And for them, it was just like, if I make a couple extra $100, that's a car payment or whatever. So for them, it wasn't so much about building business and creating earning a living off of it. It was just like, let's just earn a couple $100 a month or whatever. So my margins just kept getting cut. It was crazy. So when I'd first started off working with this guy, we could go in and make anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 in profit. Within 2.5 years, 3 years, that had kind of got knocked down to about $250 to $300 per profit per job.
gosh.
So like I was having to do almost 10 times the amount of work, which is tough. I couldn't physically do what I need to do to kind of keep up with that. So I kind of started winding down, and then I also got in a plane crash. So that
Right, you did
changed everything.
Okay, we have to hear
Yeah.
this is
Oh gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna come up organically but I did want to hear about it. So
Yeah.
please explain to the audience what you're talking about, because that was probably just like a what? So
Yeah. No, so I was actually 19 years ago. So January 17th. And I was living in Houston, and I was working, not working, but I was involved in youth kind of facilitation stuff. And we were looking at creating a youth facility in the south part of Houston. So if anyone knows kind of Lamar, Dickinson, Clear Lake, all that kind of area, that's kind of where I live. And we were looking at a community center for kids to be able to come in and play basketball and video games and all that sort of stuff. And so we had heard about a place in Killeen, Texas, that had built something like that. And so we had there was a friend of mine. He had a daughter about a year younger than me, and so he was a pilot. And so he had they had a plane through the organization that I was involved with, and it was a twin engine prop Cessna that they had kind of chartered out for that day. And so we were flying out to Killeen to go check out this facility. And it was about an hour flight. And when we were coming in close, about an hour had passed. And so I knew we were about to we'd be landing soon. And there were 5 of us on board. So 3 in kind of the passenger seats, and then the pilot, and then a guy sitting in the co-pilot seat that was with us as well. He wasn't piloting all, he was just sitting in the co-pilot seat. And so yeah, we the official ruling was that there was a mismanagement of fuel. I'm still not quite convinced of that for various reasons, but yeah. So the guy who was sitting in the co-pilot seat, he said, "Hey guys, you guys need to start praying. I don't think we're gonna make it." And he was known as a joker. And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And he's like, "No, I'm serious. Like, I don't think we're gonna make it to the airport." So a couple, like a minute after that, I always have to think upstairs. I was facing the tail of the plane. I was the only one facing the tail of the plane, but the left engine just stopped. And then about 30 seconds later, maybe even shorter than that, the right engine stopped. And so it was just complete silence. So I don't
you
know if you
heard
ever,
that. Yeah, you
yeah,
heard it
like
just stop.
if you ever been in a prop plane, they're loud.
Yeah.
Like, they're really loud. It's not like a jet plane. So it went from like you couldn't hardly talk to each other loud to just silence, because we're just gliding. So pilots are taught when they're crash landing to fly in between 2 trees to rip off the wings, because planes are kind of built that way, because that's where all the fuel is stored, is in the wings. But the plane was built about a year before those regulations had come in. So and of course the pilot didn't know that, but we found that out afterwards. So when he was coming in, we were flying over a housing, like a neighborhood, and when he was trying to going between two trees. And when he did, the right wing hit the tree. And because it wasn't built for the wing to come off, it torqued the plane 90 degrees into a house, and it ripped the whole right side of the plane off.
Oh my
And so yeah, so uh, yeah, I blacked out at that time, and then woke up and didn't know where I was, and was trying to figure out what was going on and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't think anyone was in the plane, and then I kind of heard people in the, well, one of the guys in the plane, and then I didn't. It was, it's your brain just does weird stuff, and you don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
It was very confusing. But anyway, I ended up getting out of the plane through the big hole that had been ripped off,
Mhm.
and yeah, got out that way. And there was an off-duty paramedic who just got off duty, and then a nurse who just got off a shift that was driving home, and they saw the plane come down, so they're the first people on the scene. And uh, came over to me and started taking care of me. And then the other guy, he crawled out of the plane just behind me as well. And then the other three people passed away in the crash.
Ah,
So, which I knew one of them had passed away because I saw him on the way out. But the other two, I didn't see. I thought they were. Well, I didn't know. Like it's such a confusing thing going on in your head
yeah.
with everything. But I found out later that they had passed away as well. So, but
And
yeah, so that was 19 years ago.
you just
How do you
walked
feel
away.
like
Like what a
that changed your life? Like, I mean,
yeah.
obviously, people who've been through stuff like this, like your whole life kind of changes after that.
Yeah. Where was the shift, do you feel like? Like, did that, I mean, actually, I don't know how old you were at 19, so like 19 years ago, but like, were you still doing the business then? Like,
Yeah, so the biggest, so a couple things around this. When I was on the plane, I was actually I had a notebook on the plane. I was writing loads of business ideas because I was actually looking to start up a new business.
mm,
So I always tell people when I'm kind of talking about the things that I kind of learned from after all this stuff, is because literally on the plane I was future planning, at least 6 months ahead, but also looking at what's the long-term potential of the business and all this sort of stuff. So you're thinking ahead. You're thinking a lot about the future. After the plane crash, it was really weird. I I was diagnosed with a kind of mild PTSD type of
mm,
stuff, which most people are like, yeah,
understandable.
yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that. But so I went to a counselor for a few times and kind of worked through all that. But it's the thing that kind of scared me the most through that whole process is I would wake up in the mornings, and it's hard to describe, but where I talk about, being able to write down business plans and think months in advance, or, we might have like, where do I want to be in 5 years and all that kind of stuff. I would wake up in the mornings, and it was like I could look up until about lunchtime.
Mm.
And then in my brain, it literally felt like a fog. I couldn't see past it. I couldn't think about what I was going to do after lunch, what I
Mm,
was going to do that evening, what I was going to eat. Was I going to hang out with friends? I literally couldn't see past 3 or 4 hours of my day.
wow.
And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't, my brain shut off and just like, no, I can't think beyond that amount of time.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, this is, like, literally, I was thinking months and years ahead on the plane, and now I can't even think a couple of hours ahead.
Mm.
So what I started doing is I I would look as far as I could in my mind's eye. So let's just say it was like 12 o'clock. And I would push my mind as far as I could by like 10 or 15 minutes and go, okay, well, I can see up to 12. I'm going to eat. What am I going to do those next 10 minutes?
Mm.
Mhm.
And then the next day I'd go another 10 minutes, and then the next day I'd go 15, and over time it built up to where I'd be able to see a whole day, and then 2 days, and then half a week, and then a week. And over several months it built up to a time where I was like, okay, I can actually see ahead.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah, I feel like that's interesting because obviously most of us are trying to live in the present, you know, like we're trying to stay, you know, like in the moment we're in, but not being able to think like completely ahead or even like just for your plan out your week. Um, it's baffling, you know, but what a crazy story, like how that came about and like from the plane crash to after. Yeah.
Do you feel like that
Wow.
plays into like your coaching and how you teach people?
yeah, bits of. I mean, there's loads of learning experiences of life that I can pull from
Yeah.
those different elements. But it's always about looking at, first of all, there's always an upside in every downside, and there's always a downside in every upside. There's always balance, and so a lot of the coaching is about how you create that balance in your life so that you're not putting things way up on a pedestal or putting things way down in a pit.
Mhm.
You've got a balance between those things, which is always important. And where can you learn from those circumstances to be able to help you move forward in your life? So
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely played into a lot of different stuff that I coach and mentor people on. So
Yeah. So how do you so how's the Rethink Academy? How is, like, I know that they headhunted you and you're working for them now and you're also coaching at the same time with them. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, so Rethink Academy, we work with clients all over the world, and our kind of tagline is we help everyday people achieve extraordinary lives. And so we work with people to help them build online businesses or help them take their existing business and scale that through online marketing. And so we're just constantly coaching people all over the world around this, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm on coaching calls and doing masterminds and all sorts of stuff all the time with people, not only through Rethink, but with my own business as well. But we've got a great team. We've got amazing coaches that help out with our coaching team, and it's just amazing to be able to see, the ability that people have if they apply the principles, stay consistent with it. There's a lot of mindset stuff that anyone can show you what button to push, but it's that mindset that we're constantly coaching people on around being able to move forward and keep up with what you're doing and the consistency around it. So it's phenomenal. It's an amazing opportunity just to be able to work with people and help them in their businesses.
Where do you see this
Awesome.
going, like between your own business and the Rethink? Like, how do you see those merging, or do you not? What's the big plan now that you can see forward?
Yeah. So big plan with Rethink Academy is we're scaling it up in terms of, if you kind of think of the dummies guides, we're
Mhm.
doing like Rethink around that. So we have Rethink social media, which is all the social media online marketing. We've got Rethink time management, which is around productivity and efficiency. We've got Rethink money for kids and teens, which is around teaching teens and young children how to actually think about money, manage their money, earn
That is
money.
So
So it's
good.
not just
so
savings.
valuable. So
It's
valuable. I wish
it's
I had
amazing.
that. I really
Yeah.
do.
It's
Yeah.
called financial freedom. So FUN, because
Nice.
putting the fun back in finance. So we've got that element of it. So we keep expanding that out. We'll be doing like a Rethink health, lots of different stuff so that people can rethink those different areas of their life, because we grow up and are taught a lot of things, a lot of good things, but then a lot of things that are just taught because our parents grew up thinking that way. And education is good, but there's a lot of things about education that's just kind of status quo, and
Yeah.
we need to rethink these things and think about it differently. And what we've been taught in a lot of ways isn't actually the best way to achieve, if we want to use the word success, but to achieve those success in those different areas of life. So that's kind of big grand scheme of that. I know the owner, he's a great friend of mine. And in terms of my own business, kind of same thing. It's about working with people and helping them achieve what they want to out of their business. And I love it. It's great fun.
Awesome.
So
I
what
honestly think that
would you
that's
say?
great with the rethink,
Yeah.
rethinking, even especially like, education and everything, because I feel like you're right. People look at how it was back in the day and like, sometimes things change, ebb and flow. That's how life works. So I love that.
So what kind of advice would you have for somebody that wants to maybe go into coaching or just the entrepreneur spirit, all that good stuff?
So a couple things around it is this. There is Guys, just real quick here. Do you know the time's about to run out?
Yeah,
Yes.
if it does, we can always, I can send you a new link and we can keep it.
Okay,
We'll edit.
Yeah.
fantastic. Sorry, I figured you're
No,
gonna
you're fine.
edit it, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah,
do
you're
that.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I was trying to rush. I was like, oh, I gotta finish all
No,
this.
don't rush. Yeah, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay, cool. All right. So do you want to ask me the question again and
Yeah.
so you have a cut place?
Yeah. So what would you give advice to people that maybe want to go into coaching or that just have sort of that entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, good question. So the advice that I'd give around that is whenever you're going into coaching, what a lot of people do is they think in terms of generalities. Okay. So they'll say, I want to be a life coach, or I want to be a business coach, executive coach, relationship coach, all that sort of stuff. And we've the intention is good. But when it comes to a marketing standpoint, it's actually really bad, because what we do is you fall into what I call a commodity based market. So when you think in terms of a relationship coach, executive coach, life coach, whatever, they're a dime a dozen, right? They're literally everywhere. And when you just say, I'm a life coach, a relationship coach, personal trainer is a really good one that I like talking about, because where's a personal trainer? Everyone knows where one is. Gym. You go to your gym, personal trainer is there. What's the first thing you ask? How much do you charge? Right? A lot of it's based on price. So
Mhm.
I always tell people you need to get really specific on who it is that you're wanting to help and what you can help them to achieve. The more specific you can be around that, your marketing language then can be geared around the problems you're helping them solve. And this isn't helping them live the life of their dreams, right? Which is what a lot of life coaches say, right? That's so hairy fairy and so obscure. It's like, what does that mean?
Mm.
So you want to get really clear with that, because life coaching someone who's 20 and life coaching someone who's 70 is very different. They're in a completely different stage of life. What they're looking for is different. The pain points in what they have is very different. And so it's about getting clear on specifically who you're wanting to help around that. And it's one of the main things that we start off when we coach our clients is, who is it that you're wanting to help? What's their pain points? Do they have the ability to pay for what your product or service is? Because a lot of people have great ideas, they want to help people, but actually they don't have any money to pay you. So that's called a charity, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking to earn a living off of it, that's, you want to make sure they have the money to pay for what you're offering. So that's just some real kind of surface level top line stuff that I'd suggest about people looking to go into that. So it's good to want to coach and start up a coaching and mentoring business, but you need to get really specific on who it is that you're wanting to help, what's the pain point you're helping, and ideally create and find what that tangible outcome is.
Yeah.
Not that, we can help you have a better relationship.
I feel like that comes with a lot of things as well. Specificity in what you want to do will help you like with everything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's really great. So do you have any other advice that you'd like to give to our audience or anybody else? Anything else you'd like to add in?
Yeah, so in turn, yes, so definitely once you have that understanding of who your target market is, so you're not just based on a commodity element of it, so you're not competing on price, then it's about making sure that as you move forward with your business, that you've got the right skill sets that you're learning, and being able to market yourself properly through this. And we have an acronym through Rethink that we kind of work through our clients with, and it's making sure you have the right niche or niche depending where in the world you are and how you use that word. So you got to make sure that it's really really clear. Evaluate your avatar, which is the E. So it's making sure that you're really clear, which is kind of what I was talking around, knowing who your target market is. So what are their pain points and all of that. Then you've got the T, which is targeting the right traffic. So a lot of people try to target all the social media. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and they're trying to do all these different platforms, and they get confused as to which one should I be using and all of that. And we
Mhm.
always tell people, get one right first. Get that one done. Get it really
That's smart.
working. So because if you're because every platform is a little bit different in the way that you communicate, and the people on the platforms are different. So if you're marketing on Facebook, it's very much a social media platform. People are there to share pictures of what they've eaten and their vacations and their dogs and cats
Mm-hmm.
and all that, right? But LinkedIn's not that way, right? So if you're trying to market yourself on LinkedIn the way you're marketing yourself on Facebook, it won't work. As a matter of fact, people get annoyed if you're posting pictures of what you've eaten. So it's making sure that you've got your target, your traffic sources right and how you target them. So that's the T. H is then the help for free. So being able to add value, that can be either a lead magnet, so something you're giving away for free, it could be a discovery call, it could be a webinar that you're doing, but you're giving value. Okay, so you're helping people for free, and there's lots of different ways that you can do that. Then you
I'm
go
also,
into,
I'm sorry.
yeah, go on.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, no. And then you've got the I, which is the immediate upsell. So it's business. So you want, people are in that frame of mind of saying yes because they've said yes to whatever the free thing that you've given them to add value to. So go add something that they can purchase then, right? Something that's more valuable that you can offer to them. So it's the immediate upsell. Then you have the in, which is what we say, nurture your list. So that could be your email list, it could be your social media database, but you don't want to nurture them. So once you have that information, and I see this mistake happen a lot. They'll create an email list, they'll have one or two emails in a series, and never email the list again. It's like, well,
Hmm.
you've got to continue building that rapport and adding value to them. And someone may not be in a position right now to say yes. Maybe it's not the right timing. Maybe they don't have the money or whatever. But
Yeah.
6 months, a year down the road, they may be. So you want to nurture the list. And
Having
then the
those
last,
relationships,
you got to have the
definitely.
relationships. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is K, which is know your numbers. And so you got to know what your numbers are.
Yeah.
So, what's your conversion rates and your opt-in conversion rates and your sales conversion rates,
Yeah.
all those numbers. If you don't know those, you won't know where to improve. And we always tell people, let the numbers tell you what you need to do. Don't let your emotions tell you what to do.
And the
And
numbers can be
so,
the hardest part sometimes, really like getting that down, because I feel like that's where the business aspect comes in, where it's like you have to know numbers, or your own numbers specifically, what do you need? So that's really great.
yep,
Awesome.
yep.
So go ahead.
I just wanted to quote you because you put this in the type form and I thought it was so good. When we asked her advice, you said, surround yourself with people or have a mentor whose walking pace is your running pace. That is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So, did
Yes.
you have a mentor? Is that sort of what you suggest to other people as well?
Definitely have a mentor, and that's not my quote, by the way. That's from Darren Hardy, who wrote The Compound Effect. And I love that quote because it changed the way that I looked at things. So having a coach is really important, having a mentor. And this isn't self-serving, by the way, because even though I'm a coach, I hire coaches, right? So I live my own advice. But having a mentor that can is at a place in life that has already accomplished the things that you want to accomplish, helps you not only overcome obstacles that you would have come to and not know how to deal with, but which we all know, we hear that, and a lot of it's cliche: get a coach, get a mentor, and people kind of, hey, I know that. But I always tell people, do you actually do it? you know
Yeah.
do you have someone in your life whose walking pace is your running pace? And when I read that in Darren's book, I was like, man, that's amazing, because he's talking about being on a call with his mentor. And if anyone knows who Darren Hardy is, it's not like he just sits back and twiddles his thumbs. I mean, the guy has multiple businesses, multimillionaire, like, in terms of business, he looks very successful. Like, he's got a lot going on. But he said he could get on a phone call with his mentor, and at the end of a 30-minute call with him, feel exhausted, because his mentor, what he would get done in the morning time, it would take Darren 2 or 3 days to do. He was like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
So when you surround yourself with someone whose walking pace is your running pace, it allows you to look at yourself and do some self-reflection, thinking, do you know what? I have more in me to do. I have more capacity.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing, being able to be around people where, because we all do this, right? I don't have any more time. I have my time maxed out. I can't
Yeah.
possibly do anything else. There's
Mhm.
just no way I can do it. And then you get around someone and you just look at them thinking, how in the world do you do that? And it makes you kind of call yourself out, going, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just lying to myself.
Oh, I love that.
It's a
I feel like
reflection
we
for
could talk
sure.
to you for hours, but where can people
Yeah.
find you and learn more and all of that good stuff?
Sure, absolutely. So if you go to rethinkgift.com, you can download the first 4 chapters of a book that Paul, who's the owner of
Nice.
Rethink Academy, has written called Rethink Social Media. And so you can download the first 4 chapters of that for free to check that out. And that's the way to kind of get into the whole Rethink Academy world. And then if you want to get in touch with me, you can just go to LinkedIn under Jason Osborn and look for me there and connect with me. Just let me know you've listened to me on the podcast. Don't send a random connection request because I won't know who you are. But if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me there as well. But definitely go to rethinkgift.com because that's an amazing resource.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Honestly, like Monica said, I feel like you can talk to you for hours, and like your story has just, developed from such a young age. And I feel like you're helping so many people. So thank you for being on the show. Everyone who's listening, this will be on Apple Podcasts. Please leave us 5 stars and a review. We're also on Spotify and Google Podcasts, and this video will be up on YouTube. And thank you so much for listening, everybody. Thank you, Jason. And I'm one of your hosts, Kristen Herman.
And I'm Monica Ortega. And we will see you
Awesome.
guys
And
next
thank you
time.
again.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.